Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a recording of genuine historical significance. Yes, I don't believe many historical recordings are of historical significance, but here's a historical recording which is historically significant. Yeah, okay, enough for the word historical. It's this one. Shostakovich, Symphony No. 13. Is that right side up? Yeah, it is. Okay, there's a bell there. Babi Yar, one of the most profound, gripping, intense, fabulous pieces of music anybody ever wrote. And this is the premiere performance/recording. It was made at the time of the first performance, which was, given like once or twice. And then the thing was cut off by the Soviet bureaucracy in 1962, and it didn't really appear again until Kirill Kondrashin and the Moscow Philharmonic, these folks, recorded the work with the revised text, the part that made it sound not so focused on Jewish people in the first movement. And there were some other adjustments here and there to some of the other poems, but that's not the point. The point is this thing appeared suddenly, literally out of nowhere, on a label called Russian Disc, which no longer exists, I don't think. And everybody was shocked because no one knew that it had ever been made, this recording. It's live. It's in perfectly decent, listenable sound. I mean, it's not fabulous. It's 1962 Soviet, but it's good. It's quite good, and the performance is amazingly intense, brilliant, and dark and brooding, but at the same time urgent and fierce and communicative. It's just fantastic. It's better on the whole, because it's the original text, than the remake that Kondrashin made for his formal Shostakovich Symphony cycle. So here it is on the ALTO label. And ALTO is actually one of the good guys. I mean, they actually say where they got it. They said it was licensed. It was originally issued on Russian disc with the label and everything, recorded in 1962 in the Great Hall, Moscow Conservatory, with the original bass soloist, who was Vitaly Gromadsky, after a couple of them had been pressured by the government to drop out, to try and sabotage the performance. I mean, the whole story, you can read the whole story of the premiere in Galina Vishnevskaya's autobiography, Galina, which is it's just remarkable about how this thing finally happened, because everybody thought that the premiere was going to be canceled. It wasn't even mentioned, or it got a tiny mention in the Soviet press. Yevgeny Mravinsky, Shostakovich's normal premiere guy with the Leningrad Phil, refused to play the work, probably out of fear and out of pressure from the regime. Really, that this exists at all is incredible. So we should listen to it purely as music, purely for what it is, and not take into account all of the sort of extra musical circumstances that occurred at the time of the premiere. But it's kind of hard to push all of that aside. Happily, it doesn't matter, because it's fabulous. It's absolutely fabulous. And it's coupled with the incidental music for King Lear, which is really kind of cool. It's a nice coupling. I mean, it's only 13 minutes long as a coupling, featuring it's Edward Serov and the St. Petersburg Chamber Orchestra. So that's really, and the coupling is music from, it's in a similar mood, that sort of dark, black humor in places, and creepiness, and there's ghosts and whatnot, and it's quite spooky. So anyway, it's great. It's absolutely great. It's on the ALTO label. It's very inexpensive, and if you care about Shostakovich, you really should own it. I mean, it's a seriously important addition to any major Shostakovich discography. Now, there is one issue that I feel I need to deal with in talking about this recording, which is it's just unbelievable. Okay, the five movements are Babi Yar, humor, in the shop, v magazinie in Russian, strachy, which is fears, which they call terror here, fears, and lastly, a career, in Russian, karyeria. I mean, it's pretty, karriera, karriera, that's what it is. It's a karriera. And it was something like that. No, carriera is what it is. And they call it quarry. Quarry. Todd, Todd is Music Concepts. Todd, what are you thinking? What do you mean quarry? They're not mining. They're not strip mining. They're not blowing things up. They're not crushing rock. It's carriera. It's a career. That's what it is. It's not quarry. There it is, quarry. Typos happen. They happen all the time. I make mistakes constantly, as you folks never tire of reminding me. But this one I thought was particularly amusing. It is, in any case, Shostakovich's 13th Symphony, Babi Yar. I do not believe here you get texts and translations, because I would love to see how they translate quarry. No, they don't. They do not. So they don't even bother to try. And I am so glad, because God only knows what would have come out. A marvelous performance, a wonderful, really, really gut-wrenching experience listening to this at the 1962 premiere series of performances. I don't think this was the actual premiere performance. There was another performance that took place apparently, and that's where this recording originated. I recall that being discussed when the Russian disc original version of this popped up. It's something like that, but that's okay. We don't worry about little details like provenance when we're dealing with, 1960s Soviet Shostakovich mementos, do we? So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.